to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
This One's Wife. Netflix Nosedive. In case you weren't familiar with it, that was an example of a nosedive. According to Laura Collins, who goes by the title of Chief Investigative Reporter for the Daily Mail, This One's Wife and Harry's Netflix show takes a dive. Okay. Let's find out more about this and how that might impact upon This One's Wife. It's enough to spoil the Duchess's latest batch of strawberry jam. Little dig there from the Daily Mail. New figures released by Netflix and obtained by dailymail.com show that not only has viewer interest in This One's Wife and Harry fallen off a cliff, the couple has been well and truly eclipsed by the popularity of their former friends, David and Victoria Beckham. It's a double whammy for This One's Wife. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Not only has her popularity gone off the cliff, but they've been eclipsed by former friends. How awful. How will she cope? So brave, so stunning. Engagement figures for 2023, released last week, reveal that the Beckhams' eponymous documentary hit the top spot for global viewing with a whopping 43.9 million views between July and December last year. In that same period, Harry and This One's Wife's limited series volumes 1 and 2 limped in with just 1.9 million views and 12.6 million total views across the year. Now, in the interests of balance, it is worth pointing out that the Beckhams documentary only came out last year, whilst, of course, the docuseries from Hank and Skank had been released in December 2022. So it's inevitable that it would be lower, but it does evidence a number of things. First of all, they're nowhere near as popular as they think they are because the series had no longevity, meaning that it got a lot of initial viewing and then faded fairly fast. Secondly, this fading fairly fast indicates something, namely, many people watched because it was a grudge watch. They weren't particularly interested in the gruesome twosome on the basis of genuine interest in their lives or being fans of them, but rather they wanted to watch what a clusterfuck this show would be. And, having had it confirmed to them that it was self-absorbed pity fest with lots of victimhood on display and smearing of other people, those viewers basically thought, yep, pretty much as I imagined. Okay, box ticked. I'll now go and do something more useful, like creosote my garden fence. Accordingly, the consequence was the viewership ditched them. And thereafter, not so many, given the supposed global appeal of This One's Wife, were bothered to watch the series. But then, thirdly, along came the Beckhams, and in a much more engaging series, they eclipsed them. And of course, as is invariably the case, the narcissist falls out with those non-intimate secondary sources, as she did with David and Victoria Beckham, with the consequence that they don't want anything to do with her. When it first aired in December 2022, the Mail continues, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's docuseries was an instant hit, giving Netflix its biggest debut with 81.6 million hours viewed in the first 4 days. But after initial frenzy, grudge watching, figures began a steady slide as millions of viewers lost interest and the series lost traction well before the 6th episode aired. The show has now slumped to number 211 on the streaming platform's global chart, while Beckham is number 1 with 3.5 times the viewing figures and 208.5 million hours viewed in the first 2 months alone. So it's shat all over the Harry and This One's Wife docuseries, which will not please This One's Wife because she believes that she's the most interesting person on the planet. The disparity is perhaps due, in part, to the fact that fans who had tuned in to Harry and This One's Wife's docuseries, hoping for insight and intimacy, were instead left tired by their relentlessly woe-is-me tone. Viewers complained about the couple's self-absorption, and the fact that for all their enviable privilege, they seemed to do nothing but bemoan their lot. Well, that's understandable. Harry has been used to a life of privilege, so he doesn't actually recognise that he has a privileged lifestyle. That's just his lifestyle. And therefore, he will moan about the inconveniences because they're simple inconveniences to him, without thinking, actually, I'm rather fucking lucky, aren't I? This one's wife, of course, complains relentlessly because of the victimhood that arises from her narcissism. All narcissists have a victim mentality, but someone such as the middle mid-ranger, that is this one's wife, well, that mentality is all the greater. That mentality results in her very much seeing herself as that victim, causing her to complain, causing her to smear, causing her to issue pity plays. In stark contrast, Beckham was a show that left viewers uplifted by the Beckham's family life, relationship and work ethic. Fans raved at the couple's resilience and marvelled at Beckham's self-effacing grit and ambition. This was a couple viewers could get behind, where Harry and this one's wife were a couple viewers could leave behind. Chortle, chortle. In recent months, there has been increased speculation that Harry, 39, and this one's wife, 42, could lose the $100 million deal that they inked with Netflix back in 2020. It then regurgitates what we've heard of before about how the docuseries was decent, at least in terms of viewers, and the other two releases were pretty shitty and were not particularly watched. Then goes back to what Spotify had to say about them, and then explains that their one-time friendship with Victoria and David Beckham has soured. The former Spice Girl turned clothes designer and her husband were guests at the Sussexes' wedding back in May 2019. This one's wife often wore Victoria's designs, with the older woman opening her little black book of UK stylists to her when she first set up home in the country, residual benefit. Later, according to biographer Tom Bauer, David and Victoria offered the couple refuge in their Los Angeles home when they were looking for a place in the States, residual benefit. But according to Bauer, a telephone call from Harry to the former Manchester United star left Beckham furious and effectively ended the once warm friendship. According to Bauer, the royals were concerned that close friends were leaking stories about them, paranoia, to the press, and this one's wife particularly suspected Victoria. Harry called and repeated the accusation to Beckham. The rest, and their friendship, is history. Now, to rub salt into the wounds of the Beckham's soaring popularity in the face of the Sussexes' decline, Beckham has probably spent more time with King Charles III than Harry has this year, as the former England captain has been announced as the newest ambassador to the King's Foundation. The King and the former footballer are now reportedly beekeeping buddies who have exchanged pots of honey from their respective hives in Highgrove and Oxfordshire, as well as beekeeping tips. Once again, this one's wife narcissism fucks up a friendship, and the Daily Mail, of course, does not hesitate in relation to pointing out the fact that their Netflix series has nosedived, which of course will wound this one's wife, and that they've been overtaken by people that were once their friends, which again will result in further wounding for this one's wife. Yet again, there's identification of how things go wrong for her. And of course, you're always able to trace it back to the fact that it originates from her own behaviour. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.